Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Man Sports Fan Podcast. I'm your host, Philip Arthur Schultz, and I'm here with our regular guests, Chris Smith9 and From Dog Millionaire, but also a third guest, and that is Roster 2 Guards, the Constant Gardener. Thank you so much for being with us. He's our local Bucks correspondent, and while we're not going to talk anything NBA tonight, because we're in the time between summer league and regular league. I don't know if there's a early fall league. I don't think there is. So we're gonna talk. We're gonna talk other things, but Constant, thank you for being with us. Do you have any words you want to say before we get started here?
Glad to be here, guys. This has been a long time coming. I feel like I've been asking to be on the pod now for pretty much since it started. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Finally, Chris responded. Thank you, Chris, for taking this into action. Okay, we wanted to first talk about when we met Matty G and maybe what our favorite Matty G story was, because he kind of has a lore to him. Did you know that about yourself?
No.
Oh, please, well, you do. And it's awesome. So, when did you guys meet Matty G? And what is maybe your favorite Matty G story that you have from college?
This was a great question. I really like this question. The vivid memory that came back, I don't know if this is true or not, this is all I can remember, is so I was an RA on Chris's staff. That's how Chris and I met at college, being RAs together. And I remember going into Chris's room where I spent a lot of my time on that staff. I spent all my time in Chris's room doing all sorts of great things. And I just remember looking over, and I think Roster was chilling. I think his casual pose, kick back, whatever, leg up kind of thing, and just and he's and just as a classic, very very chill, smooth, what's your name kind of thing. And I just don't remember a lot of conversation, don't remember a lot of interaction of it, but just a very kick back, relaxed, just in the Roster mode, so to speak. Probably gaming or something with Chris. Favorite memory, hope somebody picks the field goal he made. I would say dancing in Chris's room. I vividly remember this. He had boots on, and I was friends with the RA below. And I just remember it sounded like elephants above us. And I was like, what is going on up there? And Gardner was just going to town. I don't know what he was doing, dancing something. I don't even know if I came up. I just knew he was up there, and it was a pretty epic moment of just so much noise. I didn't know one person could make so much noise.
It was probably to In the Mood.
In the Mood.
Yeah.
I love it.
So much noise.
So good.
Yeah, I mean, if the boots weren't on, I don't know if you really were actually hanging out with Matty G. So, so Matty, I don't know when we met officially, but it really took off when I was the RA in Fricker and you were on the floor, and we just killed it that year. Weller, sorry, yeah, dating myself. We just killed it. But there's a lot of Matty G stories. I don't know how to narrow it down, but I'm gonna pivot because Frem kind of brought it up. I was coming off of a breakup in college, and Matty G came to my rescue a few times. And one time he just comes storming into Fricker Hall, and he just goes, "Hey," and I'm an RA, and he's like, "Hey, Chris, I'm here. I got the Coors Light." And he's just carrying it down the floor with his boots on, and we're just gonna own it. So I appreciate that.
Good time.
Yeah, it was great times. We'll get to more Matty G stuff down the road. We'll start there.
Me and Matty lived on the same floor in Wellers. It was an incredible floor.
Four doors away from each other.
You can make the argument that it was maybe the best year of the 4 years of college. There's a potential to make that because of how good the floor was. Our RAs were incredible as well. Shout out to Maggie, and then what's the dude's name?
Max,
yeah.
They were never there.
Oh, they were incredible. Yeah, they were amazing. I was trying to think of stories because we have a lot together. I think the two things that stood out to me about Matt is that he has really narrow shoulders. So if you look at me, I'm kind of a broad man, This is where he kind of lines up. That's where his shoulders end. You can't see it on the if you're just listening, but very narrow, very narrow. And then as well as the video of him doing a backflip, snowboarding, and landing on his back. And I think I'll just always remember that because one, it was kind of awesome, and like the way of like, dude, he just went for it. And then also some tragedy involved. So a lot more we could share, but I just
to clarify, it was a 360 that I was trying to attempt. And the tragedy was I spent 2 nights in the hospital. So
yeah.
That's a tragedy.
Anyway, thank you so much for being here. I think what Maddie is known for out of University of Wisconsin Whitewater, the lore of UW is the constant gardener in the Royal Purple. Does anybody want to try to reenact the pitch for the constant gardener? And maybe, Maddie G, do you want to talk about what this is before we give the pitch?
Okay, so
it's a PG show, Maddie. So do your best.
do you want me to give you the origin story, like the actual origin story?
Just as much of a synopsis as possible. Yes,
We'll keep it short. So my childhood friend, shout out the Polish kid Jake Dudzik. He pitched it to me. Yeah, he pitched it to me during a hunting trip, senior year, and it was he was supposed to be writing the column, and it was supposed to be called "Hunting Beaver" with Jake Dudzik. And then we just kind of snowballed and changed it. And I apologize for not being PG already.
it's what the origin story entails.
Your children don't listen.
It's what's supposed. Okay, so does anybody want to play the? Hey, I'm Constant Gardner. I'm going into the Royal Purple editor's office. I have this great idea. Does anybody want to try? Yeah, Chris, I feel like this is yours because this is your question. So please,
This is my
yeah, you gotta go. You gotta go for it.
All right. Who's on the other end of this conversation with me?
This is going to be Chris Kuhag.
Chris. Okay.
Yeah, you know Chris Kuhag, right?
I do. And we'll let Phil play Chris Kuhagen here. Gardner, we'll leave you out of this conversation.
Please.
All right. So, hey, Chris, I've been really crafting up this new idea for the Royal Purple. I think we really need to spice some things up.
Yeah, it's pretty bland. We live in a really small town. Yeah.
And I think just my experience has lent itself to this idea. And it's actually a nice pun here, but the constant gardener. And really,
what are you constant about?
So I really think it's a way to share my stories and about women and my experiences, because honestly, ever since
you have a lot of experience with women, so right. I could see why this would make sense.
And ever since they took the police reports out of the Royal Purple, we need something here, because people just aren't reading it anymore.
Yeah,
you're right.
Police report anymore.
You're right. Philip A. Schultz has not stolen something from a Walmart. Yeah. I think we just go for it. Why not? What could happen?
Right. So I got some ideas. I'll be happy to submit them to you ahead of time, but really this is going to be about me and my journey to be able to help others, because I'm a servant of people, and that's what this is about.
This is your Dear Abby to the Whitewater community.
You got to give the people what they want.
By the way, I think we looked up these articles. Are they still there?
They are still there. Some of them.
A couple that are still online, and then there are a couple that we didn't post online because all of them ended up being having negative comments talking about me personally. So we started to just take down and not post the article after probably about 2 or 3 articles that were posted. So
the comments are fire on them, by the way.
I think you did do a public service, honestly.
What? Real quick, can you just explain? Were these comments a revenge, deal, or what was up with that?
It was mostly This has no place in the royal purple. Who is this person to try to talk about this? What kind of experience does this person have? And like more along the lines of stuff like that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
For you.
One of the funniest parts of my bachelor party was my brother-in-law read all the articles that were online around the campfire to a group of 20 guys, and then read all the comments as well. And it was probably one of the funniest things.
I'm glad you say that's fun.
You remember that?
I'm glad you say it's funny, because at the time, I don't know if you thought that was funny.
I was, not at the time, but looking back, it was kind of funny.
Yeah, I think it's like definitely something you have to embrace a little bit, because it is like kind of, it's lore. It like is lore. I mean, it's just, I don't know. There's something like kind of awesome about it, actually, the more I think about it.
Yes.
All right. That is roster 2 guards, Matty G. Again, thank you for being on the show with us. Let's dive into sports. Let's move away from Whitewater. Let's move, guys, by the way, we graduated 12 or 13 years ago, which is kind of crazy. Wow. Kind of crazy. All right, let's get to we're still in our world. We're still in the performance enhancers. We're to the championship week or semifinal week? No, championship week. Beautiful, beautiful time. We have the main matchup I think everybody's looking forward to. Chris versus Phil. Sears versus Will Smith. 2 prominent brands, 2 prominent names. And then we also have Garrick versus Parker. Definitely by far the 2 best teams in the league, who have shown it pretty consistently. Crazy, matchup beforehand between Matt Smith and Garrick, and Fremdog and Parker went down to the wire, 8-8, 9-7. So you guys weren't that far behind, actually, which is kind of awesome. And so our third place game is Brian Fremming versus Matt Smith. Chris, how are you feeling about our matchup? Who do you think ultimately ends up on top?
I have this tradition of beating you in fantasy, so I'm gonna pick myself. I'm gonna bet on myself, but you do have the better team. But I'm going for back-to-back consolation championships, and that's what I want to put on my resume.
It just takes me back to Madden, where you would get like a 4th and 7 by 1 yard, and then you throw like a deep pass with 2 seconds left. It would score. That would take me to overtime, and then you would beat me in overtime. And I think that happened in Madden maybe 3 times. Do you have any comment?
I think since we've known each other.
Yeah, that's all that needs to be said. Matty G, Garrick versus Parker. Who wins the ship?
Is this Garrick Holly and Justin Parker?
It is.
Well, since I just saw Justin Parker and Garrick had to bail on the draft, it's going to be Parker. Let's go Parker.
Fantasy karma. Mm-hmm. Fantasy karma. Yeah.
Don't move, Garrick.
What are you doing? Of course you don't move during the draft.
Right.
What is going on?
Schedules.
Frem, you versus Matt Smith for third place. Who ultimately
I don't
wins?
like my luck against Matt Smith. He's taken me down in a championship a couple years ago. I think I'm going to get it done. I'm happy to just even be in third place. I didn't think I'd get it past the first round. So I narrowly won the first round, narrowly lost the second round. So it's been a good ride, but I think I'm going to take home some money here. I'm excited.
I see you in the money, man. I think you're the better manager, but you got to watch out. Matt Smith, he does like I'm going to, add and drop 7 pitchers in the last 2 days to take in.
He does do that.
You got to watch it. You got to watch it.
Strategy.
Yeah. I think what's interesting is we're all going to be in the next 2 weeks because we can't help ourselves. But it's also we're kind of ready for baseball to be done. Although, Frem, roster, you guys are Brewers fans and you're, you have some momentum going into the playoffs. It feels like me and Chris are just get this over with. Although I guess we're losing to the Dodgers now. That's the last time I looked. But it's been fun. Really good fantasy baseball year. I think James Wood will still be in my head in the next 6 months. So We don't need to go into it anymore. But
oh, no.
James
Thank you,
Wood.
Frem.
Okay. I'm just sad I was a waiver behind. I really am. All right. Let's get to the Badger games, right? With college football started, which has been pretty awesome, pretty fun. You saw some big upsets. Northern Illinois beating Notre Dame. You saw there was one or two others. What were the other upsets?
I mean, that was the big one.
That was, I don't know if there was one that stood out. I mean, Iowa State beat Iowa. I mean, there's a couple other ones, but nothing quite.
But that was definitely the big one. Yeah, I guess LSU lost to USC.
Brett Bielema beat Lance Leipold. What a matchup!
I'm like, Wisconsin football could be better if Brett Bielema is still coaching. That could be a true statement, actually.
Yeah.
All right. Wisconsin beats Western Michigan 28-14. This past weekend beat South Dakota 27-13. Did you guys have a thought or two from the game and what you noticed?
I don't have a lot of thoughts right now. Early in the season, we're not playing any top tier competition. I think the theme, and I've always been on the Badgers case for this, quarterback play, nothing inspiring, nothing special there. And I think it's, I think we're looking for a very, mid-tier season here. Unfortunately, NIL dollars right now, the Wisconsin Badger football team is not bringing the talent in. So I think this is going to be, scrutiny. I think we've talked a lot about the Badger, athletics overall, a big picture, and just a scrutiny on performance and how you do. So, you'd think with Fickell we'd be bringing in more talent. Maybe we're going to do some quarterback carousel during the season, maybe to find the right guy. But I don't think we're there yet. I would not be surprised if we saw some different quarterback changes throughout the season. When we face adversity, I think we're gonna struggle as soon as we meet a horrible opponent.
Like this weekend.
Yeah, it's coming. I mean, my biggest takeaway concern is that they can't get to the quarterback. I mean, this is 2 years in a row where they get no pressure from the defensive line. And we've seen against these couple kind of inferior opponents that they're able to hang around with us. Obviously, Alabama coming in, they're going to be superior at every position. I'm really concerned if we can't get to the quarterback, it could be a long day. So this will definitely be a good test coming up this weekend. But I mean, I listed the spread is 15.5. I don't envision a way we cover the transition time with Fickell. And I don't know how long we give him, but it feels like it's going to be one more year.
Roster?
Matty G?
So I got to preface it by saying that I'm a pretty fair weather Badger fan and kind of have been for the last 7 or 8 years. College football just hasn't been appointment viewing for me for a little while. So I had no idea about a lot of the players on the Badgers and what their backstory was. And then Chris and I went to Western Michigan versus the Badgers in week 1. And I asked Chris beforehand, what he thought. And he said, I want to say you said that 8-4 would be a pretty good season, Chris. And I think we both walked out of that game thinking that 6-6 was probably what this team was destined to go record-wise this year. Alex Van Dyke looked very sketchy, is I would say the best way to describe him as a QB. There were probably 3, 4, 5 throws in that Western Michigan game that should have been intercepted but weren't. And he looked very shaky under pressure. Pretty much any time Western Michigan brought a little bit of pressure, it didn't seem like he had any idea what to do. So that's not good. And then I thought that the Badgers still have a solid O-line and should be able to run the ball. But one thing that kind of stood out to me that was strange, considering that the Badgers have kind of been running back U over the last, 15, 20 years, is that they just don't really have that guy at running back this year. I mean, is Chez Mellusi going to be that good? It felt like in the first game they were rotating through 3 or 4 guys. I guess I didn't really pay enough attention in the South Dakota game to see whether or not they were sticking with Malusi or they were still doing that rotation, but it just didn't seem like they had like that real standout running back this year. Am I wrong for thinking that?
No, I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, I don't know if Malusi can be the.
No,
Yeah,
I mean Patty Walker's fine, but yeah, it's a rotation.
I do want to say I think you confused Alex Van Pelt with Tyler Van Dyke, which is totally understandable, actually.
So his name is Tyler Van Dyke, not
Tyler
Alex
Van Dyke. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. After you said it, I checked myself, and then Tyler Van Dyke.
I appreciate the check. Yeah.
No problem. I'm like Matt in a way. I mean, I don't know if I consider myself fair weather. I try to watch as much as I can, but appointment viewing, it's similar. And being in Colorado, I don't get a lot of these local all the time. But what I will say is, it's underwhelming. The defensive line is a big problem. And I think it's not only just getting to the pass, I think it's stopping the run too. And I don't think we cover against Alabama either. Does anybody think we cover?
I think it's probably a 30-point loss.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are we at Lambeau?
No, it's at Camp Randall.
It's at Camp Randall.
Is that Camp Randall? Oh, really?
Yeah, it's going to be sick, but yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, should be interesting. Man, if we play well, maybe that is a turning point for us, even if we don't win. But in my head, we have nothing to lose. I guess if we look really bad, nobody's that shocked.
No.
But then if we play really well and it's close, or it's at least within maybe one possession, maybe two, like 10 points, I think that'd be considered a win.
Correct.
In Badger fans' eyes. So
absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I just miss the Jim Leonard defense, man. And I think we all do. And it's like, yeah, he hired I'm going to say Mike Fossil, but that's wrong. Who's the defensive coordinator, Chris? Mike Tressel, Jim's brother. And like, honestly, I just don't. It's lacking for me. So, yeah, Maddie.
It kind of seemed like their defense is still probably going to carry them and keep them in game, though. That's just kind of what it seemed like from the first two games.
I mean, the secondary is good. Secondary is good, but it's just the D line, like you said, it's concerning.
Yeah, you have 5 guaranteed losses. You get Oregon, USC, Penn State, this Bama game. Nebraska's really good this year. So 5 guaranteed
Iowa.
losses. Then you have to be in Iowa or Minnesota, and those are always dogfights and rivalry games. So I mean, if we get 6 wins to Manny point, that'd be good. I mean, be bowl eligible. I think that's the bar this season, is just make a bowl at this point, because otherwise, you're looking at maybe a 5-7, 4-8 season, which would be really disappointing, I think, for Badger Nation.
Unless Tyler Van Pelt Dyke just goes off.
Just switch his name mid-season. Awesome. It's okay. It'll all come out.
Maybe his middle name is Alex. Tyler Alexander Van Dyke Pelt. Okay. Let's move on to the Packers. I know for a lot of us, that's where we're more entrenched here, is NFL action. Packers lose to the Eagles 34-29. A very slippery field in Sao Paulo. Jordan Love gets hurt on the last drive. Thank you, Jalen Carter. It doesn't look bad. It didn't look purposeful, but it's Jalen Carter, so I just have ill will. Based on that game, again, it's the week 1 overreaction is always strong. I think we all kind of feel that, even when we were talking about our picks, that kind of thing before show. For the Packers, they lose Jordan Love probably the next 3 to 4 weeks. LaFleur makes a claim if he practices, he plays. I don't see it happening week 1, this week, but maybe he misses 1 game. I don't know. Assuming he misses 3 weeks, what are realistic expectations for those weeks and then for the rest of the season? Let's say he misses the next 3 games. What do you think our record is? And then overall, what do you think our record ends up being?
A huge blow to Packer Nation right here. I think you had so much momentum coming in the season. This is the year, maybe, Super Bowl aspirations, I think, coming off of last year. we've talked about this receiving core, all the talent you have on this offense right now, while they're being not paid a lot of money right now with big contracts. So huge blow. I think you just got to hope to maintain batting down the hatch here. I know, sports that are, kind of disagreeing with each other about, are we going to bring in Ryan Tannehill, come in? I actually talked to somebody, a neighbor recently who knew more about that Tennessee situation with Malik Willis and Tannehill. Said that'd be a really bad idea. So maybe we shouldn't bring in a Tannehill like that. Apparently that was a pretty toxic dynamic with Malik and Tannehill. I didn't have the full scope of that, but it was interesting to hear that take. I think, here we go, Malik, Sean Clifford. Let's figure it out. I think you gotta hope we go 2-2, 3-3 here. I'm looking at this schedule. Not optimistic against the Colts. Not optimistic against the Rams, Texans either. So if you can go 3-3 to start the year, I think that'd be pretty solid. Hopefully by week 7, 8, 9 in there, when you start playing divisional opponent like the Lions, whatnot, Bears, middle of the year, hopefully we're at least 500. At this point, I would say got to get the run game going, got to get Josh Jacobs going, need to get Jayden Reed the ball in space, things like that, be creative with the playbook, and hopefully the defense steps up here, which did not look like they necessarily were fully, ready for this new system that whatever our guy's name is, I always get his name wrong, Hafley.
Jeff Hafley.
Yeah, not a believer in Hafley right now. But I think there's time, and I think as you see in the NFL big picture, I'll go big picture again here. These first 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or even like a preseason game, I think for a lot of teams playing all their starters, playing a full game, you even just see it. I watched that opening game, Chiefs Ravens, and even just seeing the conditioning of players, playing a full game, and even just seeing like are they in shape to do this after not playing in the preseason much. So hopefully, I think things pan out for us. But I think it's just, can we hold it together to get Love back, and then do we get at least, I think before I was thinking like 11, 12 win season. I'm hoping now maybe let's get in a wild card again. Let's get a 9, 10 win season if possible.
Frem's boldest take on the podcast is Jeff Hafley getting fired mid-season this year. Don't forget that.
Yeah, I don't know if it's be mid-season.
I think you said after one season.
Maybe it was after one season. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for centering. A little less optimistic than Frem. I don't see us winning a game until Jordan Love gets back. I do like the idea of like getting the ball to Reed in space, though. Like just find ways like Sam Fran gets the ball to Debo. It could be an opportunity to keep drives alive, but I don't think Malik Willis is good. I think Clifford is really bad. The receivers are good enough to get the ball if they can. The quarterback can get them the ball, but I didn't see enough from the defense to make me think that these teams with competent quarterbacks that we can go and beat them without Jordan Love. I don't think we were planning at any point to play a backup quarterback. I don't think anyone's necessarily ready for that role right now. So the only advantage is it's early in the year. Like we just saw the Patriots go in and beat the Bengals. Like we kind of just need some weird stuff to happen. I'd be happy with one win. I just hope Love can get back in 3 weeks to 4 weeks because, I mean, these teams aren't great, right? Minnesota, Tennessee, but in terms of just controlling the ball, I think they have the ability to do that against us. So I think it's just survive. Like even if you don't win a game, once Love gets back, like he needs to be 100% because if he's not, like I don't know if we have a shot to make the playoffs. So ultimately, I know it's our next question, but ultimately I think they can find their way into a wild card. But Love has to be 100%. So I hope they hold him out as long as they need to until he's fully ready to go without any limitations.
Well, I think I'm kind of along the lines of Fran, in that I'm a little bit more optimistic about this. I think that we can survive without Love. However, the idea that we didn't have a backup that anybody feels comfortable with at all is such a short-sighted move by the Packers, and is actually pretty. I mean, it's historically this is kind of what the Packers have done. I mean, behind Aaron Rodgers for years were just really, really bad backups. I mean, we remember Brent Hundley and Seneca Wallace, the guy who threw like Uncle Rico from what movie was that?
Napoleon Dynamite.
And he could also throw it a quarter mile. So
yeah.
Right over those mountains.
So, I mean, it's really frustrating that once again they have not come up with a good solution at backup quarterback. But hindsight's always 20/20. Obviously, this week, Colts. Next week after that, Titans, Vikings. If they can come out of that 2-2 out of the next 4 games or the next 3 games, I feel pretty comfortable with that. I feel like that's something that's doable for them, because after that, it just, it gets harder. It goes Rams, Cardinals, Texans, Jaguars, Lions, Bears, 49ers, Dolphins, Lions, Seahawks. Those are all pretty good teams that we're playing against that we might, drop a game to. So I'm optimistic. I think that Love's going to come back in probably 3 weeks for that Rams game. So just crossing our fingers, hoping that he's okay.
Yeah, I think everybody wishes we would have got Taylor Heinicke, because I think everybody would feel a lot better with Taylor Heinicke, which is kind of crazy that, you give up a 7th rounder for Malik, and then Taylor Heinicke goes for a 6th of the Chargers. And I get it. Malik is probably has more of the raw talent, the better arm, has the legs. But yeah, in terms of actually holding a team together, Taylor Heinicke's shown that he can do it. And I think that's that is a little frustrating, to be fair. I think I'm also optimistic. Yeah, I think if we were 1-3, I'd be actually pretty happy. Here's what I'm really hoping, though. I mean, the team just didn't play very well in Brazil. Tons of mistakes. I think some of the refereeing decisions weren't great, but it's kind of nitpicky. We didn't lose because of the refs, I don't think. I really think overall the team just didn't play that disciplined. And, I think it's all this coach speak now, I didn't coach them well enough, or, kind of this weird interview jargon. To me, it's hey, the team needs to step up now. And I think we've seen this with other teams that have middle road quarterbacks where the team around them really elevates their play. What does the defense do now? How does Josh Jacobs play? They're obviously going to run the ball. They're going to run the ball. Man, if we could get one win, I think we'll actually win next week. I actually think we'll beat the Colts. I don't know why. I don't think it's a fluky win. I actually think we're going to be better than them. We can make turnovers. Against the Eagles, we cause turnovers. And so you can make that say Hurts made some bad decisions, sure, but we caused some turnovers. So I actually think that's possible here. But man, I think if anything, I just want to see the team play better overall around Malik Willis. And I think they know that. I think they know they have to if they're going to win games. I still feel very confident in the season. I mean, even if let's say they went 1-3, or let's say they were 1-3 after 4 games here. I mean, I still think 10 wins is easily doable. I think 11 wins is still possible. And some people might say, well, that's, you're a little bit optimistic here, but we've shown we're a good team. The Eagles are a very good team. Let's not pretend that this is a pretender team that we lost to by 5 points when we made a ton of mistakes and we still have a chance to win. That was a very good team. So I still think we make the playoffs. I just hope Jordan Love is able to come back and play how he normally would play, and that we're not rushing him back from an injury, because we just know when teams do that, it usually doesn't work as well as we think it's going to. And that's kind of my hope. You guys have any last thoughts about the Packers before we move?
One thing. Do we feel better about the kicking game after week 1? Because I certainly don't.
No, I think that's a great quick add-in. Is I think a huge critique is Packers have to figure out special teams. I don't care if we go through 17 kickers or 17 games. I mean, I'll roulette. Let's just keep trying to run until we find someone. I mean, it didn't keep Greg Joseph. Thought for sure he'd be the guy out of preseason and everything. I think Gardner hit on a really crucial point too. We cut our quarterbacks from the preseason, right? And we go and get Malik, and then we cut our kickers, and then go and get it. It's questioning, some personnel decisions that are being made here, and who are we bringing into camp, who are we bringing in the preseason, that we don't have the right people, even on the roster here. So yeah, I think that's a really key point, because I think we're going to be kicking field goals, right? I think 40, 50-yard field goals. We're not going to be, I think, in the red zone in a lot of these times. So definitely need a guy who can come up clutch. So I hope we find the right guy.
Here's what I'll say about Narveson. He was putting them all down the middle until that 43-yarder.
Yep.
and to me, it's like, yeah, I mean, but kickers miss kicks. It does happen. We're just like, we're trauma-induced with Carlson. And I mean, it's very, and we had Crosby forever, so like, we're just used to clutch at least. And yeah, I mean, obviously that field goal ended up mattering, in some level in the game. Mm-hmm. Chris, you got a thought?
I do, but it's a separate thought. I'll leave the kicking game aside. I think we have to acknowledge, I mean, I think you said it with the field conditions, but Jordan Love also didn't play well. At least he missed a lot of easy throws. So I just hope that it was just sort of like a week one type thing. Like Frem said, there's not much of a preseason anymore, but he wasn't as sharp as he was the second half of last year. So if he does come back weeks to kind of get back into midseason form, because that could be concerning too.
Keep in mind that I think only one quarterback threw for more than 300 yards in week one.
Yeah, I mean, it was bad across the board. Yeah.
So, yeah, it was just Tua. So the passing game always takes a little time to get going because nobody plays in the preseason anymore. So
right.
Passing game is all timing. So it's hard for a lot of these teams to be good in week one when it comes to the passing game. Just a little context.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess my point is just like Jordan Love week 5, let's say he comes back week 5, that's going to be his second game, which means that he's not in week 5 Jordan Love yet. So like, I just hope it doesn't take him a little bit more time, because they're going to need to start racking up some wins at that point.
I mean, there were a lot of plays that that first touchdown that's called back by an offensive pass interference. It's like, there was like these plays that like could have gone the other way and we wouldn't even be having this conversation maybe, so it's like, right. It's just kind of interesting how that, I mean, the NFL is a game of inches, small things, calls, that kind of thing. Well, hey, let's move to our NFL season predictions. We made these after we watched week 1, just to be fair. Although I really personally tried to be, I actually, whatever I sent Chris for my division winners, I kept. I did not change those. So I tried to still be objectively neutral, but it's hard, after you watch the games and you see what's happened. I think what we'll do is we'll kind of say our division winners. If anybody's really different, we'll talk about why. I might swallow my, I might bite my tongue a little bit on the first one, but we'll go down. And then once we get to like more award season winner stuff, so MVP, offensive player of the year, that kind of thing, then I think we'll give a little bit more analysis. But we'll talk, we'll just kind of walk through these. Chris, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think that sounds good.
I like it. Okay, cool. NFC North winner, Maddie, Frem, and Chris all had the Lions. I had the Packers. And obviously that's before Jordan Love got hurt. This is just what I thought would happen. Obviously that's not looking great now. And if anybody watched Caleb Williams and the Bears, that's not looking great. I don't think they're going to play another QB like Will Levis, who's going to turn the ball over 3 times in 10 minutes or whatever. Let's move then to the NFC East, because obviously most likely the Lions win it. Good job, guys. 2 of us had the Cowboys. That's Manny G and Chris. And me and Frem had the Eagles. Maddie, talk about why you picked the Cowboys.
I mean, they just have a lot of top-end talent on that team. And they're just consistently good in the regular season. And I don't know. I mean, both of those teams, one team is probably going to have 11 wins. The other team is probably going to have 10 wins. And I just, basically did a roll of the dice with the Cowboys. And just
okay, Chris? Chris, you got another thought?
No, I mean, they basically brought back their entire roster, and it's a good roster, like Matty G said. So I think the continuity, been there, done that. I just think they're built for the regular season, not the playoffs.
Obviously not that. Fremdog, the Eagles. Why did you choose them?
Talent. I think overall, they made their offense even better this year. I think it's interesting just seeing if you watch the Packer Eagles game, they highlighted how they've had the coaching carousel last, I think it's at least 3 years on different offensive coordinators. And Kellen Moore is a amazing pro at being an offensive coordinator there. So I think they're going to get better, if anything, on the offensive side right now. And you see with Saquon, people are thinking like, oh, he's washed up, whatnot. 3 touchdowns right away coming out of the gate. I think this offense is going to be explosive. Defense just has to do their part. I think they've had some changes on that side of the ball, so that'll be the question mark for them. But I think Jalen Hurts is going to, create a lot of damage for a lot of defenses to try to figure him out and just guard all their pieces on offense. So I like the Eagles overall.
I'm with you. Also, they have the tush push where no one else can perfect it. So I'm not saying that's what puts them over the top, but I actually do think you're right, Frem, especially about Saquon. I mean, in that Packer game, you could just see it. And it's like, man, is Saquon better than Josh Jacobs? And the answer is yes, he is.
Yes, he is.
He is better
Absolutely,
than him.
No doubt.
And that just shows sometimes it is worth paying a particular running back, I think. But we can debate that further later. Let's get to the NFC South. Me, Chris, and Fremdog Millionaire had the Falcons, led by Kirk Cousins or Michael Penix. And Matty G had the Buccaneers, and that's already looking better than us. Matty, talk about why you picked the Bucs.
I'm not buying the Falcons hype. I'm not buying it at all this year. I mean, they're returning, they signed a 37-year-old quarterback who looked like he couldn't move at all in week 1. And granted, it's against Pittsburgh, and TJ Watt was jumping the snap count. Man, he had that thing so dialed. He knew exactly what he was doing. But I'm just not buying the Falcons this year. I'm not buying the hype. I think their defense stinks. And I'm not betting on a 37-year-old quarterback returning from an Achilles injury. The Bucs were the division champ last year, and they're probably going to have 9 wins again this year. And that's probably going to be the way it goes. And I think this might be one of the worst division, probably the worst division in all of football. I think given the Panthers probably have 2-3 wins maybe. So yeah,
I would be curious what the odds are for Baker Mayfield MVP after this week. And Chris, if you look that up, that'd be awesome. You might be right, Matty. You just might be right. Let's move. NFC West winner. We all picked the 49ers. And after Monday night's game, that's looking pretty good. AFC North, we had Matty G, Frem, and Chris with the Ravens. I picked the Bengals, which is also looking pretty poor after week 1. Here's what I'll say. I just trust in Joe Burrow. I think the Ravens, why I didn't pick them is because they went through a defensive coordinator change. And while they still would have a good defense, I actually thought they would regress a little bit. And they did lose to the Chiefs. It was close. I don't think the Chiefs even played that well. And the Chiefs still won, which is annoying. Gosh, it's annoying. But the fact that, I think the Ravens, I think they'll still be very good. I still think they'll make the playoffs, but I had the Bengals. I also trust their coach a little. Well, I don't know if I trust him more than Harbaugh, but I do trust their head coach. But, they lost to the Patriots at home, so might not be my best, but we'll see. Chris, you got the QB odds or MVP odds?
It's plus 8,000, which is behind the names of Kirk Cousins, plus 5,000, and Justin Herbert, who is plus 3,500. So it's just he's still low. Yeah,
that might be a value pick, man. Because here's the thing, that guy has weapons. I don't care what anybody says. You have Mike Evans, you have Godwin, you have Rashid White, and you have probably the best left tackle in all of football. To me, it's I don't know.
And he's got some swagger too. I mean, when he's playing well, he's pretty good. And I did say he'd win an MVP in the prelude to Man Sports Fan, the last edition of this podcast a couple of years ago.
Man, good memory. I mean, former number 1 overall pick. I think the biggest thing with the Browns, he couldn't stay in the pocket. I don't think he had good pocket presence at all. And now he's 7-year veteran, 6-year veteran. I mean, come on, these things can get better, right? Let's move to the AFC East. Me and Matty G have the Jets. 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 And Chris and Frem, they had the Dolphins. Chris, Dolphins, why'd you pick them?
I think the obvious answer is just Tyreek and Waddle, and Achane if he can stay healthy, which is already proving not to be a thing. But I'm just going off of top-end talent. I mean, the Bills lost a lot. The Jets, we've never seen the Jets with Aaron Rodgers for a season. So I was just betting on the team that has the most consistency from last year and just the potential to score a lot of points.
From you want to add?
Hit it. I also think, this is a product of just looking at, attrition and looking at the division right now. Like Chris said, Jets never proven it. If anything, right now you could maybe take a wild card on the Patriots and seeing what Gerard Mayo is doing right now. And I don't know. I debated Mr. Ethan Deutsch at our fantasy football draft about how many wins they would get, and I said above 5. But I mean, they're looking more like if they can play defense, and if Jacoby can manage a game, looking at more like an 8 or 9 win team, maybe a sneak in the wild card. You never know this team. It's interesting. I'll just put it out there, but. I think the Bills are going to be a very odd team, just kind of scrapping together like these and having a lot of these close games. And I think they're going to be a middling team. And I think, Miami, has the best foundation there overall. And I think McDaniel's done some really great work with morale in Miami. And I won't get way into the details, but just seeing like some of the pregame incidents that happened for Miami, and then seeing how they come out and win that game against Jacksonville, I think it just speaks to the culture in Miami and what McDaniel's built there, and how those players look after one another, and how they even they're just a team and they're very closely connected. And I think that goes a long way in the NFL if guys are believing in each other and believing that they're going to go out there and win every game. And I think a lot of good things working for Miami this year.
Addy, why'd you pick the Jets?
They went 7-10 last year with probably the worst quarterback play in out of all the 32 teams in the entire league. Here were their quarterbacks last year. Zach Wilson, who is the third stringer on Denver, Trevor Siemian, who I believe might be a third stringer somewhere, and good old Tim Boyle, who is out of the league right now. They had 11 passing touchdowns last year. 11. Just Aaron Rodgers alone gives them probably at least a 3, if not 4 win bump. That's pretty much why I'm going with them. Plus, I'm just like, I feel like there's a lot of teams in that division that are probably going to be halfway decent. So, Bills could win 9, Dolphins could win 10, Jets could win 11. It's just, I'm just betting that Rodgers is going to give them that 3 or 4 win.
I'm with you. I think the D was stellar. I think you had Rodgers, and last time he proved he could still sling, man. I mean, yeah, he's older. He's coming off the Achilles, rusty. I still think he could sling it, though. And Garrett Wilson is that good, and so is Breece Hall. Who would own him as a rookie, right? So, yes, the Jets, I'm going to say 12 wins, 11, 12 wins. AFC South, we got the Texans, all of us. They looked pretty good. That was fun to watch. If you watch that Colts game, that was fun to watch. And then AFC West, we unfortunately all have the Chiefs, and I'm just tired of it. I respect it. I like them personally. I'm tired of it. But and that's our winners. So should be an interesting season. The NFL is the best league in the world, I think, because of the parity. You never know what could happen from week to week, and that's what's so good about it. Don't overreact to week 1 so much. Don't overreact to week 1 so much. We do it every year, and it never ends up panning actually how we kind of see it. So let's get to our AFC MVP. All different across the board. Let's do very quick synopsis why we're picking them. Matty G, who's your pick and why?
This was for AFC, correct?
MVP, yes, sir.
MVP. Yeah, it was Mahomes out of the AFC. He had probably the worst statistical year of his career last year, and actually has people on his team right now who have speed and are weapons. And Rashee Rice is not suspended, and he's got a Tyreek clone in Xavier Worthy. So I think he's just going to have a pretty monster season where he's motivated. He was fourth in the NFL top 100, and he takes stuff like that pretty personally.
You have the wild card here, Anthony Richardson. I think, he's a critique. He's only played 17 football games or something like that in his career between high school, college, professional. And so it is kind of wild to think about this guy who has limited football experience and hasn't really played much NFL football. But I think he took the league by storm last year when he was healthy. If he's healthy, this guy, I think, is I'm going to say it, the best quarterback in the league, dual threat. I don't think anyone can really touch in terms of how he can move the ball down the field vertically with his arm and then with his feet. And I think if he can have any help, whether it's, some of these pieces of, Pittman or Pierce or, his rookie wide receiver he has there, I think he's going to do some special things. And I think they're definitely going to compete with Houston in this division. So I definitely think Richardson is the guy this year that's going to take the league by storm. And I think it's going to be a number one, fantasy pick probably in our league. Well, he's a rookie, so can't be picked in our league probably, but in other leagues, I think he's going to be a number one QB moving forward in fantasy. I think this is the guy, and I think he's going to, I think he's going to be just amazing.
That pass to Alec Pierce, that long touchdown was sick. That was insane. C. Smith, who you got?
Okay, we love you, Chris. We can't hear your audio, but
can't hear your audio.
I'm sure other people can hear you though.
Other people heard that. That's okay.
Yeah, I'll let Chris figure it out. I don't know what. Yeah, Chris, we couldn't hear you there. I'll just go and maybe we'll come back. We'll see if it works again. I'm gonna pick Josh Allen, and here's the thing: I would have picked him before week 1 because that guy is a freak of nature, and he does everything. And yeah, he could maybe get hurt because he is a freak of nature and he does things other quarterbacks can't do. I just think he will have to carry the team. And the thing is, without Diggs, I think he'll be even a little bit better because he won't feel the need to force it. I think of the Chiefs playoff game, he felt the need to force it. You could sense that. And I think this year he actually figures out with his complementary receivers, Curtis Samuel, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, the Shakira of the NFL, and has a decent running back in James Cook, has good tight ends in Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox. I feel pretty good with picking Josh Allen because he's a machine. He just is a machine. He'll throw 3 picks, but with that, he'll have 4 touchdowns. He's one of the most fascinating players to watch in the NFL. Chris, let's go back to you. Is the audio better? All right. Well, we'll come back to our DeForest correspondent. Maybe he'll figure out his mic.
Oh, and Defoe.
We've all been there, Chris. It's okay. Defoe. Sorry.
What happened to Defoe?
Yeah, especially with the Norskis there. Gosh. All right. MVP, NFC. Maddie, back to you. Who you got?
I got Dak Prescott. I think that the Cowboys are probably going to have a 13-win season, and he's going to have 4,500 yards passing and 40 touchdowns. And I don't know. I hate it because I can't stand the Cowboys, but I mean, they've just been such a solid regular season team over the past few years when he's been healthy. So it's hard to not see them doing things similar to what they did last year. That's kind of what I'm going off of.
I'll add because I picked Dak too. I think he's been the Cowboys quarterback long enough, and he's known how to weather the media storm. And he's already put up really good numbers multiple years here. And I just think in a weird way, the pressure's off more this year than other years. And I don't know why I say that because he's the Cowboys quarterback, but it just feels that way to me. And maybe I'm listening to the wrong media or reading the wrong stuff, but the pressure feels off more so. And I know they need to win the Super Bowl, all that, but I believe other people blame Jerry, and he'll always be the reason why they don't make a Super Bowl, not Dak. And so that's just kind of my take with it. But I think Dak is it this year because I think he will put up gaudy numbers and be a little bit better than even last year.
He was second in MVP voting last year. So.
Right. I mean, it's definitely a good choice. From you and Jalen, Talk about that.
Yeah, I'll just be brief. I think I said it already. I just think the increase in talent for Philly this year, and I think it's a fair point. Everything you both said on Dak, I think he's going to be right up there in the voting. Jalen is just, I think, even looking at a fantasy perspective, is just his ability to score more points more ways. On his feet, whether it's a tush push in the air. I think he's just going to have a really great statistical season this year at the helm for Philly. So and I ultimately think Philly is just a really hard team to beat right now. I think Dallas might flounder a bit. I think the take on wins, I would project them to be more of a 10 or 11 win team. I think their defense is not going to be what it was before. I think the Dallas has their ways of disappointing. So I think I'm gonna go with Hurts, even though it hurts to say that.
Hurts. Chris, are you back?
Am I back?
Hey, sounding good.
We are back.
Let's not jinx it.
We are back.
Not
Okay.
jinx it.
I went with Brock Purdy, and I do not feel good about this pick, but I just figure if the 49ers are going to do it, this is the year. Purdy doesn't make a lot of mistakes. I think if you watch him, he makes some bad throws here and there, but for the most part, he makes good throws. He's got really good weapons. Depending on who the back is, he's got someone that can catch the ball out of the backfield. I think he could put up some pretty gaudy numbers in some games. And like I said, if he limits his interceptions, there's a possibility that he could win MVP. I wouldn't bet on it, but I think it's an interesting pick because I don't think the NFC has great options, especially with Love getting hurt. That takes another guy out. So Dak's a nice pick, though.
I bet Brock is wishing he also gets MVP because he'll make a lot of money then. And I think they'll have to pay it because otherwise somebody else will, honestly. All right, let's get to Offensive Player of the Year that's non-QB in the AFC. Maddie, start with you.
I have Breece Hall with the Jets. Let me ask you guys a question. How many carries do you think Breece Hall had last year inside the 5? Take a guess.
Under 10.
For those who are not listening on video or not watching us on video, 0 is the number that I'm holding up right now. 0 carries inside the 5-yard line for him last year. The Jets had 1 running back take a carry inside the 5-yard line last year. They had none of their RBs get a carry from the 1-yard line last year either. So, he already had a touchdown inside the 5-yard line. And think what was it, like a 3 or 4 yard touchdown already this year? So I think he's just going to have the biggest TD boost of any RB in the entire league, just based off of having a quality quarterback play, or just competent quarterback play. Because Rodgers could just be average, and I feel like this Jets team has enough talent that they're going to be awesome. So I just think Hall's going to have just a killer season.
Well, and I bet the snap share is around 90. And for a lot of running backs, you're just not going to get it. So that's a good pick. Fran, what about you?
My eyes were open game 1, and I was skeptical of Derrick Henry. You see these declining RBs hitting 30 years old, and then you see Derrick Henry, and you're reminded that he's 6'2", 247 pounds, and he's behind maybe the best offensive line in football, maybe second best. I'd maybe put the Niners at number 1 right now, and just seeing that this dude is going to cause problems, and having, I think you could argue, maybe the best running quarterback in the league with Lamar Jackson. It's going to be really hard. It's going to be really hard. I'm just looking at Chris's chat here, making me lose my train here. But no, I think this Derrick Henry is going to be a beast, and I think if he can get carries in the red zone, if they can be even creative with him, wildcat, whatever they do with him, I think he's going to be really hard to stop. And you saw week 1 against one of the best defenses in the league, with the Chiefs, that they're a run first team, and so good luck trying to stop Derrick Henry, who's still in incredible shape and who can run the ball very effectively.
Derrick Henry and Lamar together, just so fun, man. Just so fun, honestly. Me and Chris, we picked Tyreek. We know that he's fast on the roads, but he's also fast in the game of football. Chris, why'd you pick Tyreek Hill?
Yeah, not much to add. I think we all know what Tyreek brings. I think he could push for 2,000 this year, and if he gets 2,000, it's a lock. So I'm banking on that.
He's Hall of Fame lock, right?
Yes.
I think he has to be at this point.
Sure.
Unless he pulls a Russell, but I don't think it's going to happen. Cool. Let's go to Offensive Player of the Year, NFC non-QB, and let's switch up the order. Let's go Frem. Start with you.
This is my guy, my rookie pick, now keeper in our fantasy football league. He's got to be better without Arthur Smith, but Bijan Robinson. I think you saw it right away out of the gate, getting the ball in the air, getting the ball on the ground. I think he's going to be the guy there, and as Kirk establishes in these first few weeks, I think I have the opposite take of a roster here about how the Falcons are going to pan out. I think once they get through the first few weeks, they establish some continuity, some consistency, this chemistry, like we talked about in the passing game that takes time to develop. I think they're going to be a special team. I think Bijan is going to have a lot of open lanes because they're going to have to respect Kirk in the air, getting the ball to all their players, which they have a lot of good, talent, I think, on the perimeter there. You see with Drake, Mooney, Pitts. So I think this is going to be a really fun team, and I think Bijan's hopefully going to break out. At least, hopefully he does for my fantasy team's sake.
Chris, what about you?
I'm going Justin Jefferson. I don't know why people are sleeping on this guy. It makes no sense to me. He is an absolute superstar wide receiver, and like from the fantasy perspective, just kind of got ignored because his QB's Sam Darnold. And week 1 made us remember that he's still Justin Jefferson. It doesn't matter who his QB is. He's always open, and he can get in the end zone. So kind of like Hill, like he's going to be the guy that's getting 100 plus yards a week. And if he consistently puts up those numbers, I think he has the potential to be the best receiver in the NFC again, which wouldn't surprise anyone.
Yeah. Me and Maddie, CD, why are you picking him?
I mean, he's probably going to have 1,800 yards receiving because I think the Cowboys are just going to go nuclear this season on offense. So that would be why.
Does he top 135? What did he put up last year? Catches.
I think he's going to have 145.
Yeah, I'm going to go the under. I think like 128. But even still, like it's 128 catches. I think you're right. I think they just keep feeding him.
Yeah, I think so too.
I'm the same way. So, all right, let's go to defense. Talked a lot of offense. Let's go defense. Defensive Player of the Year in the AFC. We are split on this 2 different ways, which is fun. Chris and Fran, you guys picked who and why?
I think it's pretty obvious. I'm a little biased to Badger Nation, but I think like it was already highlighted here. We already said TJ Watt going off week 1. I think, until somebody truly, surpasses him in terms of just impact and the person you have to game plan around. TJ Watt is a beast defensively in the AFC, and he's a problem that you just have to always prepare for. You always have to be aware of him. You have to have a chip or something on that side. Because he, game-breaking plays, fumbles, touchdowns, etc. You just see it all the time. His impact on the field.
Chris, you got anything to add? The D correspondent, and he's not.
Oh no,
it's fine. It's fine.
That DeForest Wi-Fi.
You've been here before. Me and Maddie picked Max Crosby. I'll go, and then you go, Maddie. I just think he's a relentless monster, and I don't think he'll get hurt. He hasn't gotten hurt. I think TJ Watt has. And I think Max Crosby, even though his team will be kind of bad, I bet they go 6-11 or something. He just will cause problems every game. And he's so good against the run too. It's just everything. He's just that good. Do you have anything to add?
I want to give a real quick shout out to Khalil Mack. 1.5 sacks in week 1. His Defensive Player of the Year odds were, I think, about 2 weeks ago, 100-1. I think is what his Defensive Player of the Year odds were on FanDuel. And that guy had 17 sacks last year. 17, the most that he's ever had. The more than he had when he won Defensive Player of the Year with the Raiders. So I feel like he's a dark horse candidate for Defensive Player of the Year in the NFL because nobody cared about the Chargers last year. And I feel like the Chargers will, probably will be a wild card team this year. That's what I'm predicting. So people are actually going to care about the Chargers again. And they're actually going to start to notice what Khalil Mack is doing.
Yeah. You could be right, man. He's definitely like underrated. Like at one point he was like the premier guy, and he's still that good. I think he's Hall of Famer too. I mean, I think he's there, at least very close. Let's go to defensive player there in the NFC. And let's Frem and Matty G have the same guy for this. Frem, who is it and why?
I'll let Matty G speak more on this than me, but yeah, Micah Parsons, you saw right away. Tom Brady was highlighting him in the broadcast there. He's just a beast, and even if he doesn't show up statistically, another guy like TJ Watt here that just is creating havoc and somebody you always have to know where he is on the field. And I think he's going to need to carry Dallas's defense a little bit. I think they may not have all the playmakers that they had last year there. So I'll leave it to Matty, but yeah, he's amazing.
I don't have much to add, but I will say that 9 of the last 10 AP Defensive Player of the Years have been pass rushers. So I just basically went with who I thought was the best pass rusher pass rusher is how Chris Collinsworth says it. The best pass rusher in all the NFC is Micah Parsons.
Yeah, it's just crazy how that position does seem to matter to more than even a shutdown corner. But a shutdown corner also, that's obviously super significant. We just don't have as many of those.
Real quick, Stephon Gilmore was the last cornerback to win it in 2019. And before that, the last non-pass rusher was Luke Kuechly all the way back in 2013. So going back a ways.
Yeah, and I bet that middle linebacker would have to have around 150 tackles, 160, and then you would have to have some turnovers in there too. Chris, you have Aiden Hutchinson. Can you speak about that?
Can you hear me okay?
Hey.
Got it.
Okay. Dude, it's Aiden Hutchinson's season, man. I mean, he's going to potentially lead the league in sacks. He's finally, like, the game is slowing down for him, that old cliche. And he just looks the part. Like, if you watch week 1, he was getting double teamed a lot, but he was beating it. I just feel like it's his time. And the other thing going back about corners is there's just not enough defensive statistics to that people can see on paper that can show how good a corner is. And I think that really hurts them. Sacks is so easy to see. You hit the quarterback, you knock him down. But passes defended isn't really a stat that people pay attention to. So it's just harder for them to win those awards.
For sure. I also think quarterbacks avoid those guys. So it's
True.
You could avoid passing to that player. And so anyway, I hope you're right about Hutchinson, by the way, as you know, in my fantasy love. Nick Bosa is who I picked. And I just think he's overall, I think he's more well-rounded than Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons might have more explosion, but he's not as good against the run, in my opinion. And I just think that he will be healthy all year. And I think if he's healthy all year, he's a top 3 pass rusher. Like Matty said, it's kind of, about staying healthy, about being a pass rusher. And Aiden Hutchinson is good. I'm going to wait till I guess this is year 3, isn't it? Man, the Jaguars picked Trayvon Walker. Why did they do that? That was so stupid. All right, let's go to rookies. They're fun. Rookie AFC of the year. Let's do it this way just because I know we're a little long on time. Does anybody feel good about their pick?
No.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay.
I love Xavier Worthy after week 1. This dude is phenomenal. Chris said it. He's like another Tyreek. This guy has wheels. So I don't know if there's much more to say. He's as good as advertised.
It's just hard to beat Tyreek, though, man. It's just hard to beat Tyreek.
I want to see them.
That guy is one. I want to see them
in a foot race. I want to see this in real time,
or in a car, car race. That'd be fun too. I'll stop.
Too soon. Too soon.
Sorry, too soon. Chris, you feel good about yours?
Yeah, if you watch the Jaguars, if you watch Brian Thomas, he just looks different. He's fast. He's a good route runner. If Lawrence can get him the ball, I feel like he could easily put up 1,000+ yards and maybe 8 to 10 touchdowns. So, yeah, he's watch Brian Thomas Jr. He's special.
I know that's the receiver that we kind of wanted I know a lot of people weren't like, don't draft a receiver in the first round, but I know we were kind of in on him. We liked him. I went Coleman just because I wanted to change it up, and who knows if he like comes out of nowhere for the Bills? He could be the guy. It's not like out of nowhere. Roster 2 guards. You went Bo Nix. How do you feel after week 1?
I feel horrible. Week 1, he looks so bad.
They should just open it up. Just try. Just throw it down the field a little bit.
Let him heat it.
I don't know. They have no trust in him throwing in the ball down the field. So we'll see.
Did you see the one throw he made and the announcer basically was like, "Oh no." He just threw a pick right to a guy before it was even caught. It was amazing.
Tough being a quarterback in the NFL, Yep. Especially when you're the 5th one taken in 12 picks. Still a lot of hype, even though you're the 12th overall, the 5th one taken. Let's go NFC. 3 of us picked Jaden Daniels. Me, Chris, and Frem. Feels about right. Roster 2 guards. Pick Caleb Williams in the rookie draft, so he feels like he has to say he's the rookie of the year. Why'd you pick Caleb Williams?
I just thought that they were going to have the better record. And Jaden Daniels is probably going to get injured at some point during the season, I would think. So that was one of my reasonings for not taking him in the rookie draft and taking Caleb Williams, who did not look that good in week 1, but I still think that there's a lot of room for improvement. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. It's week 1. I think Jaden Daniels could also get benched because he fumbles the ball. I think he fumbled it 3 times, but he didn't lose any of them. And it's like, he's gonna fumble the ball, man. Let's go to Coach of the Year. We got 2 Harbaugh bros here in Chris and Maddie. But Jim, not John. Nobody picked John. It's kind of surprising. Chris, why'd you pick Jim?
I feel like this award always goes to a coach that overachieves, not the team that's projected to do well. Harbaugh is just a winner. I think he'll get enough out of Justin Herbert, even though he doesn't have great weapons around him. I think they'll end the year with a winning record and potentially make the playoffs. And to me, if they do that, that's enough for him to win Coach of the Year, because they weren't projected to probably win more than 5 or 6 games, maybe 6, 7. I don't know what their win total was, but that would be a 3 to 4 win overachievement.
That's good. You have anything else, roster?
I was just kind of looking at the history of the award, and I think that the Chargers are probably going to be a 9 or 10 win team and sneak into the playoffs. And 4 of the last 7 coaches to win the NFL Coach of the Year award were new coaches, in their first year with the team. So I just based off the history of the award, I just kind of feel like it's probably going to go to a new coach, and Harbaugh was my pick out of the end.
Prem, who'd you pick? Why?
I said it before, Mike McDaniel, team chemistry, team culture. They're finally going to take the AFC East here, and I think they're going to rival the Chiefs for best record, maybe in the AFC, maybe even get that 1 seed if the Chiefs can maybe slip up somewhere along the line. So, I think it's, McDaniel hasn't won the award yet, and I think he, deserves, his credit out there for what he's been doing in Miami. And not just building a successful, team on the field, but I think, like I said, I think that team culture is really special. I think people are really bought into what he's doing there.
It's weird. People talk about how coaches look, Matt LaFleur, kind of a hot coach, The thing about Mike McDaniels, I actually think he's a really ugly person, but he's got the style and he's in Miami. And because of that, he looks like a good looking dude.
Have you seen the memes of how he's aged, or they say when he started to when he's where he is now? It's pretty funny. They say how Miami's taken over his personality. So
they said that he looked like he went from a Best Buy salesman to a cocaine dealer.
Correct.
So
yeah,
away from our PG show here.
Yeah, for real. I went to D'Amico Ryans. If the Texans go 13-4 or 14-3, he should win it. And that could happen. I just don't see any holes. I don't see a lot of holes in this team, if anything. And that's a coach that all those guys play for. And the AFC South is bad. or it's okay, but it's not great. It's definitely not one of the top conferences. So that was just my pick. So coach of the year. And in the NFC, we're all over the place here. Does anybody feel good about their pick? Okay.
Raheem Morris, I think, like I said, I think of that opposite take of I think the Falcons are going to be a really successful team. They got, Raheem Morris is a defensive-minded guy. They got guys like Matt Judon, who they've just traded for. So I think once they put that together, I think not just offensively, but defensively, I think he's going to get that team playing really well.
And Maddie?
Once again, new coach. I think that Seattle is probably going to be a wild card team this year, 9-10 win team. And yeah, new coach, new situation, Mike Macdonald. That's my pick.
Old McDonald. And, new McDonald. Change the song. We got to come up with that. Chris picked Todd Bowles. That just feels boring, but he definitely could be. And I picked Kevin O'Connell because the Vikings are bad. And if they turn out to win 8 or 9 games, maybe he gets the award. I mean, he's a good coach. So
the other KOC.
Yeah. What did you say?
I said he's the other KOC. I don't know how much you follow The Ringer, but Kevin O'Connor is a writer for The Ringer, and he's called KOC. Yeah.
I don't like Kevin O'Connor that much. That's just my opinion. He's okay. He's okay.
He and I got into a Twitter fight about the Bucks like 7 years ago, so we still have beef.
Did
awesome. He block you?
No, I don't think so.
That's good.
That's good. All right, let's go Super Bowl matchup and a winner. Chris, we'll start with you. Haven't heard your voice in a while.
I'm going Lions, Chiefs. I think Ben Johnson coming back was the signal that the Lions are destined to go to the Super Bowl. He could have taken a lot of coaching jobs. He wanted to stay in this. And I just believe in what that team has built culture-wise. I think they'll easily get back to the divisional round, potentially the NFC Championship. And from there, it's a one-game crapshoot. And I think they win it all over the Chiefs, even though I never bet against Patrick Mahomes. You all know that. But I just think, like I said, they have all the pieces in place offensively. Defensively, their secondary is so much better than they have been in years past. If they can stay healthy, they probably have one of the best rosters in the NFL. And they have a coach that just doesn't care. Like, he's just going to go for it at all costs. And I just appreciate that mindset in win-or-go-home games.
You are betting against Patrick Mahomes with your pick.
I just did.
Just want to.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Maddie, you have the same Super Bowl.
It's so boring. I mean, Lions, Chiefs, probably the two best teams in both conferences, and I took the Chiefs to three-peat because the Chiefs are like Thanos, and they're just inevitable.
The end game is Patrick Mahomes. Yes. Frem, you've changed it up. Not really, but kind of.
I mean, mine might be equally as boring, if not more boring than Gardner's. I have the 49ers and the Chiefs back in it for their third time this Super Bowl together. I think these two teams just have retained a lot of their talent and their core pieces, and their coaching is just, I think, at another level. And so I think the Niners are right back there. And then obviously don't bet against Patrick Mahomes. But I think the Niners find a way to get it done here. I think enough shots here at Patrick Mahomes, they're going to find a way to get it done. These last Super Bowl, really close game, obviously. So I think they're right there. And I think a really interesting piece, the Monday night game against the Jets, we just watched. Joe Buck had a take, which he said that almost like, that Shanahan wanted to play without McCaffrey just to prove like he can win even without his top tier talent. And I think there's something to that of he's built a system, and he is arguably one of the best offensive minds in the game right now. And I think he's really tough to beat in terms of how their offense is built, that offensive line they have, the pieces they have around them. Like Chris said, if Purdy can make the right decisions operating this offense, I think it's going to be really hard to stop this year. They still have that defense. They still have that core with all those studs there. And I think they're going to get it done this year.
Went out on a limb. I think the NFL has played out how we've thought it's going to play out. And actually, that's not that typical. In the ways of usually it's around the similar quarterbacks that get close, but it's not always the same quarterback over and over and over, the same team over and over and over. So I want Eagles versus Bills because I think the Eagles could definitely get back. They just had such a bad stretch last year. We'll see. I mean, they didn't necessarily play amazing in that game against the Packers either. Came out on top, but they have the explosive players. They have the offensive line. They have enough defensive talent. In the Bills, like, they could have definitely beat the Chiefs. They definitely could have. And it feels like, I don't know, is there more pressure on them this year? There probably should be less. I think they have less expectations than they've ever had because of how the last 2 years have played out. And so I think that they actually do it, and they don't have the head case of Diggs. The defense is actually pretty decent. I know they've lost some especially veterans. But I actually think they stay the healthiest, and they end up making a run. Bills win. Josh Allen gets a Super Bowl. It's not that outlandish. It's not that outlandish.
It's a little outlandish.
You're outlandish. Okay, so we are to our league. We've been going for almost an hour and a half. I'm thinking about cutting this off. It feels right. And we could talk about this next week. I'm totally down to. Maddie, you could join us again. You could just keep joining us. That'd be great. If Chris gives approval, the correspondent. Well, Chris probably will have to bow out halfway through anyway. So, it's just, the mic will go, the video.
Yeah.
You do have the worst tech of all of us, by the way.
Yeah, what the heck?
I'm the needy one. Frem's the sleepy one. And you're the...
He's in DeForest.
Ever since I bought this new computer, I was like, this is a huge upgrade. It's just been a giant downgrade.
Yep. Rewind it.
Or Spectrum just doesn't work for you.
Did you go PC instead of Apple?
Always.
You're a PC
That's your
guy,
problem, man. That's your problem.
It was a David risky decision. And this is what happens.
You can choose your own software, but is the hardware actually better? I don't think so. It's just my opinion.
Can I ask a quick question, Phil? For all the people who aren't watching us on stream, are you wearing a Mondovi t-shirt right now?
I am.
Wow.
Mondovi Bills, baby.
Shout out Mondovi. Home of
Is that copyright infringement right there?
Yeah, it is 100%.
Probably. Who cares?
Home of Diane Hendricks, the owner of ABC Supply, and don't ask me why I know that.
Yeah, I don't know why you know that either. They do have a very good meat market called Gunderson's. If you ever go there,
I've been there. Yeah,
it's very good. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, Maddie, I'm so glad you could join us. Super fun. Feels like could be a regular thing, maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see if Chris invites you back. But overall, thank you for listening. Go Pack Go. I'm feeling good against the Colts. I feel some pessimism from my lower right corner, which is Chris Smith-Nunn, the D correspondent. But hey, Malik could lead us to the promised land.
He will not, but that's okay. We'll watch anyway.
We'll still watch.
That's right.
0-2 we go. Here we come.
We'll see you guys next time. Thank you for listening. Adios.